Hello, I'm your host, Tony Felice, and what you're about to hear is the continuation of a story that began in memory and grief and now opens into something entirely new. In Season 1, we follow Tom Sanders, a writer suspended in sorrow, struggling to finish a book after the death of his mother. Through the hush of loss and unexpected guidance of a wise, mysterious cricket, something began to unfold. A story within a story. A Christmas tale, unlike any other. Now, in Season 2, we cross the threshold with Tom. We enter Santaland itself. This is a fairy tale for grown-ups. A journey through snow and stillness, through magic and meaning, through the sacred language of the words we speak and the love we feel. So follow the cricket. Let your heart be still and listen, because Santaland isn't just a story, it's a frequency, and love is the thread. And I am so glad that you're here. Welcome to Santaland. Hello, and welcome back to the Santaland podcast. I hope you've been well over these last several nights. I have been having a wonderful time. Especially there's this community on Threads that's really cool, and there's a sub-thread around a television show called Heated Rivalry, and there's just so many people from all different walks of life that have been touched by this show, and it's nice to see a community of people engaging with each other from all walks of life. We couldn't be more diverse, and yet everybody gets along, and everybody is supportive of one another in their fandom, and it has been quite healing for me. Because for the first time, we get to see a couple like Tim and I celebrated by everybody, and really getting into their stories and what brought them together. And so, for me, for years it was a different world, and now now I feel so much love, and I'm so grateful for that, right? So I wanted to mention that, and then I wanted to talk about where we're at with Ebenezer. He has been faced with looking at his past, and he's confronted with the idea that while we as individuals may be a drop of water, that drop of water has it makes waves, it makes ripples, and those ripples have consequences. For Ebenezer, his consequences were have been up to this point that he realizes what he missed out on. And the consequence for us as the reader is that we get to see that there's a kernel there, that he recognizes that there's hope for him. Ostensibly, we would say to ourselves, there's hope for ourselves, because this story reminds us about something. I think that's why the television show I mentioned, people can relate to, because the characters and the story, everything just collided perfectly. The actors, their performances, the chemistry, the script, the premise, the real emotions that were portrayed in such a genuine, authentic way, without sensationalizing it, and having very key moments for these characters celebrated in ways we haven't been before. The announcer saying, "Good for you," the fans going crazy. It all is part of this thing we call love, and that's all it is, really. And so, for Ebenezer, he is learning about the consequences of love, a feeling that he's never really had before, but he did as a youth. But now he's asking himself, is my cold, shriveled heart ready for life again. And he is terrified that the consequences of his death and the choices he make will affect other people. It's really dawning on him now. So that's all I got to say about that as we head into the next episode. So bear with me as I pull up my phone, get myself a drink, and prepare to read this copy for the first time in my life. Stand by. Oh, I'm going to go back actually and read part of the Bob Cratchit scene because it's such an important scene. And so I want to get them by the fire in the conversation that they're having. So stand by. They drew about the fire and talked, the girls and mother working still. Bob told them of the extraordinary kindness of Mr. Scrooge's nephew, whom he had scarcely seen but once, and who, meeting him in the street that day, and seeing that he looked a little, well, just a little down, you know, said Bob, inquired what had happened to distress him. On which, said Bob, for he is the pleasantest spoken gentleman you've ever heard, I told him about Tiny Tim. I am heartily sorry for it, Mr. Cratchit, he said, and heartily sorry for your good wife. By the by, how he ever knew that, I don't know. Knew what, my dear? Why, that you're a good wife, replied Bob. Everybody knows that, said Peter. Very well observed, my boy, cried Bob. I hope they do. Heartily sorry, he said, for your good wife. If I can be of any service to you in any way, he said, giving me his card, that's where I live, pray come to me. Now, it wasn't, cried Bob, for the sake of anything he might be able to do for us, so much as for his kind way, that this was quite delightful. It really seemed as if he had known our Tiny Tim and felt with us. I'm sure he's a good soul, said Mrs. Cratchit. You could be sure of it, my dear, returned Bob. If you saw and spoke to him, I shouldn't be at all surprised, mark what I say. If he got Peter a better situation... Oh, hear that, Peter, said Mrs. Cratchit. And then, cried one of the girls, Peter will be keeping company with someone and setting up for himself. Get along with you, returned Peter, grinning. It's just as likely as not, said Bob. One of these days, though there's plenty of time for that, my dear, but however and whenever we part from one another, I am sure that none of us shall forget poor Tiny Tim. Shall we? Or this first parting that there was among us? Never, father, cried they all. And I know, said Bob, I know, my dears, that when we recollect how patient and how mild he was, although he was a little child, we shall not quarrel easily among ourselves and forget poor Tiny Tim in doing it. No, father, never, they all cried again. I am very happy, said little Bob. I am very happy. Mrs. Cratchit kissed him. His daughters kissed him. The two young Cratchits kissed him, and Peter and himself shook hands. Spirit of Tiny Tim, thy childish essence was from God. Spectre, said Scrooge, something informs me that our parting moment is at hand. I know it, but I know not how. Tell me what that was whom we saw lying dead. The ghost of Christmas yet to come conveyed him, as before, though at a different time he thought, indeed, there seemed no order in these latter visions, save that they were in the future, into the resorts of businessmen, but showed him not himself. Indeed, the spirit did not stay for anything, but went straight on, as to the end just now desired, until besought by Scrooge to tarry for a moment. This court, said Scrooge, though through which we hurry now, is where my place of occupation is, and has been for a length of time. I see the house. Let me behold that I shall be in days to come. What shall I be in days to come? The spirit stopped. The hand was pointed elsewhere. The house is yonder, Scrooge exclaimed. Why do you point that way? The inexorable finger underwent no change. Scrooge hastened to the window of his office and looked in. It was an office still, but not his. The furniture was not the same, and the figure in the chair was not himself. The phantom pointed as before. He joined it once again and, wondering why and whither he had gone, accompanied it until they reached an iron gate. He paused to look round before entering. A churchyard. Here, then, the wretched man, whose name he had now to learn, lay underneath the ground. It was a worthy place, walled in by houses, overrun by grass and weeds, the growth of vegetation's death, not life, choked up with too much burying, fat with repleted appetite, a worthy place. The spirit stood among the graves and pointed down to one. He advanced towards it, trembling. The phantom was exactly as it had been, but he dreaded that he saw new meaning in its solemn shape. "Before I draw nearer to that stone to which you point," said Scrooge, "answer me one question. Are these the shadows of the things that will be, or are they the shadows of the things that may be only?" Still, the ghost pointed downward to the grave by which it stood. "Men's courses will foreshadow certain ends, to which, if persevered in, they must lead," said Scrooge. "But if the courses be departed from, the ends will change. Say it is thus with what you show me. Say it is thus with what you show me." The spirit was immovable as ever. Scrooge crept towards it, trembling as he went, and following the finger, read upon the stone of the neglected grave his own name, Ebenezer Scrooge. "Am I the man who lay upon the bed?" he cried upon his knees. The finger pointed from the grave to him and back again. "No, spirit, no, 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 no!" The finger still was there. "Spirit," he cried, tight clutching as to its robe, "hear me! I am not the man I was. I will not be the man I was. I must have been, but for this intercourse I have changed. Why show me this if I am past all hope?" For the first time the hand appeared to shake. "Good spirit," he pursued, as down upon the ground he fell before it, "your nature intercedes for me and pities me. Assure me that I yet may change these shadows you have shown me by an altered life." The kind hand trembled. "I will honor Christmas in my heart, and I will try to keep it all the year. I will live in the past, the present, and the future. The spirit of all three shall live within me. I will not shut out the lessons that they teach. Oh, tell me that I may sponge away the writing on this stone." In his agony, he caught the spectral hand. It sought to free itself, but he was strong in its entreaty and detained it. The spirit, stronger yet, repulsed him. Holding up his hands in a last prayer to leave his fate reversed, he saw an alteration in the phantom's hood and dress. It shrunk, collapsed, and dwindled down into a bedpost. The end of it. Yes, the bedpost was his own. The bed was his own. The room was his own. Best and happiest of all, the time before him was his own, to make amends in. "I will live in the past, the present, and the future," Scrooge repeated as he scrambled out of bed. "The spirits of all three shall strive within me. Oh, Jacob Marley, heaven in the Christmas time will be praised for this. I say it on my knees, oh Jacob, on my knees." He was so fluttering and so glowing with his good intentions that his broken voice would scarcely answer to his call. Had he been sobbing violently in his conflict with the spirit, and his face was wet with tears? "They are not torn down," cried Scrooge, folding one of his bed curtains in his arms. "They are not torn down, rings and all. They are here. I am here. The shadows of the things that would have been may be dispelled. They will be. I know they will. His hands were busy with his garments all this time, turning them inside and out, putting them on upside down, tearing them, mislaying them, making them parties to every kind of extravagance. I don't know what to do, cried Scrooge, laughing and crying in the same breath, and making a perfect lacoon of himself in his stockings. I'm as light as a feather. I'm as happy as an angel. I'm as merry as a schoolboy. I'm as giddy as a drunken man. A Merry Christmas to everybody. A Happy New Year to the whole world. Hello there, Wallow, hello. He had frisked into the sitting room and was now standing there perfectly winded. There's the saucepan that the gruel was in, cried Scrooge, starting off again and going round the fireplace. There's the door by which the ghost of Jacob Marley entered. There's the corner where the ghost of Christmas present sat. There's the window where I saw the wandering spirits. It's all right. It's all true. It all happened. It all happened. Really, for a man who had been out of practice for so many years, it was a splendid laugh, a most illustrious laugh, the father of a long, long line of brilliant laughs. I don't know what day of the month it is, said Scrooge. I don't know how long I've been among the spirits. I don't know anything. I'm quite a baby. Never mind. I don't care. I'd rather be a baby. Hello! Wallow! He was checked in his transports by the churches, ringing out the lustiest peals he'd ever heard. Clash, clash, hammer, hammer, ding, dong, bell. Bell, dong, ding, dong, hammer, clash, clash. Oh, glorious, glorious. Running to the window, he opened it and put out his head. No fog, no mist. Clear, bright, jovial, stirring, cold. Cold piping for the blood to dance to. Golden sunlight, heavenly sky, sweet fresh air, merry bells. Oh, glorious, glorious! What's today? Cried Scrooge, calling downward to a boy in Sunday clothes, who perhaps had loitered in to look about him. Eh? Returned the boy, with all his might of wonder. What's today, my fine fellow? Said Scrooge. Today? Replied the boy. Why, Christmas Day. It's Christmas Day, said Scrooge to himself. I haven't missed it. The spirits have done it all in one night. They can do anything they like. Of course they can. Of course they can. Hello, my fine fellow. Hello, returned the boy. Do you know the porters in the next street? Not but one at the corner, Scrooge inquired. I should hope I did, replied the lad. An intelligent boy, said Scrooge. A remarkable boy. Do you know whether they've sold the prize turkey that was hanging up there? Not the little prize turkey, the big one. What? The big one is me, returned the boy. What a delightful boy, said Scrooge. It's such a pleasure to talk to him. Yes, my buck. It's hanging in there now, replied the boy. It is, said Scrooge. Go and buy it. What? Exclaimed the boy. No, said Scrooge. I am in earnest. Go and buy it, and tell him to bring it here, that I may give them directions to where to take it. Come back with the man, and I'll give you a shilling. Come back with him in less than 5 minutes, and I'll give you half a crown. The boy was off like a shot. He must have had a steady hand at a trigger who could have gotten off a shot half that fast. I'll send it to Bob Cratchit's, whispered Scrooge, rubbing his hands and spitting with laughter. He shan't know who sent it. It's twice the size of Tiny Tim. Joe Miller never made such a joke as sending it to Bob's, will it be? The hand in which he wrote the address was not a steady one, but write it he did, somehow. And he went downstairs to open the street door, ready for the coming of the poulterer's man. As he stood there, waiting his arrival, the knocker caught his eye. I shall love it as long as I live, cried Scrooge, patting it with his hands. I scarcely ever looked at it before. What an honest expression it has on its face. It's a wonderful knocker. Here's the turkey. Hello. Whoop. How are you? Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. It was a turkey. He never could have stood upon its legs, that bird. He would have snapped 'em short off in a minute, little sticks of sealing wax. "Why, it's impossible to carry that to Camdenstown," said Scrooge. "You must have a cab." The chuckle with which he said this, and the chuckle with which he paid for the turkey, and the chuckle for which he paid for the cab, and the chuckle with which he recompensed the boy, were only to be exceeded by the chuckle with which he sat down breathless in his chair again, and chuckled until he cried. Shaving was not an easy task, for his hand continued to shake very much, and shaving requires attention, even when you don't dance while you're at it. But if he had cut the end off his nose, he would have put a piece of sticking plaster over it and been quite satisfied. He dressed himself all in his best, and at last got out into the streets. The people were by this time pouring forth, as he had seen them with the ghost of Christmas present, and walking with his hands behind him, Scrooge regarded everyone with a delightful smile. He looked so irresistibly pleasant, in a word, that 3 or 4 good-humoured fellows said, "Good morning, sir. A Merry Christmas to you." And Scrooge said often afterwards that, all the blithe sounds he had ever heard, those were the blithest in his ears. He had not gone far when, coming on towards him, he beheld the portly gentleman who had walked into his counting house the day before, and said, "Scrooge and Marley's, I believe?" It sent a pang across his heart to think how this old gentleman would look upon him when they meet. But he knew what path lay straight before him, and he took it. "My dear sir," said Scrooge, quickening his pace, and taking the old gentleman by both hands, "how do you do? I hope you succeeded yesterday. It was very kind of you. A Merry Christmas to you, sir." "Mr. Scrooge?" "Yes," said Scrooge, "that is my name, and I fear it may not be pleasant to you. Allow me to ask your pardon, and will you have the goodness—" "Here," Scrooge whispered in his ear. "Lord bless me!" cried the gentleman, as if his breath were taken away. "My dear Mr. Scrooge, are you serious?" "If you please," said Scrooge. "Not a farthing less. A many great back payments are included in it, I assure you. Will you do me that favor?" "My dear sir," said the older, shaking hands with him, "I don't know what to say to such a munificent—" "Don't say anything, please," retorted Scrooge. "Come and see me. Will you come and see me?" "I will," cried the old gentleman, and he clearly meant to do it. "Thank ye," said Scrooge. "I am much obliged to you, and thank you 50 times, bless you." He went to church, and walked about the streets, and watched the people hurrying to and fro, and patted the children on the head, and questioned beggars, and looked down into kitchens of houses and up to the windows, and found that everything could yield him pleasure. He had never dreamed that any walk, that anything, could give him so much happiness. In the afternoon, he turned his steps towards his nephew's house. He passed the door a dozen times before he had the courage to go up and knock. But he made a dash, and he did it. "Is your master at home, my dear?" said Scrooge to the girl. "Nice girl, very." "Yes, sir." "Where is he, my love?" said Scrooge. "He's in the dining room, sir, along with the mistress. I'll show you upstairs, if you please." "Thank ye." "He knows me," said Scrooge, with his hand already on the dining room lock. "I'll go in there, my dear." He turned it gently, and sidled his face in round the door. They were looking at the table, which was spread out in great array, for these young housekeepers are always nervous on such points, and like to see that everything is right. "Fred," said Scrooge. Dear heart alive, how his niece by marriage started! Scrooge had forgotten for the moment about her sitting in the corner with her footstool, or he wouldn't have done it on any account. "What, bless my soul!" said Fred. "Who's that?" "It is I, your Uncle Scrooge. I've come to dinner. Will you let me in, Fred?" "Let him in? It's a mercy he didn't shake his arm off. He was at home in 5 minutes. Nothing could be heartier. His niece looked just the same. So did Topper when he came. So did the plump sister when she came. So did everyone when they came. Wonderful party, wonderful games, wonderful unanimity, wonderful happiness. But he was early at the office next morning. Oh, he was early there. If he could only be there first and catch old Bob Cratchit coming in late. That was the thing that he had his heart set upon. And he did it. Yes, he did. The clock struck 9. No Bob. 1:15. No Bob. He was a full 18 minutes and a half behind his time. Scrooge sat with his door wide open that he might see him coming into the tank. His hat was off before he opened the door, his comforter too. He was on his stool in a jiffy, drivelling away with his pen as if he were trying to overtake the 9 o'clock. "Hello," growled Scrooge in a accustomed voice as near as he could to feign it. "What do you mean by coming in here at this time of day?" "I'm very sorry, sir," said Bob. "I am behind in my time." "You are," repeated Scrooge. "Yes, I think you are. Step this way, sir, if you please." "It's only once a year, sir," pleaded Bob, appearing from the tank. "It shall not be repeated. I was making rather merry yesterday, sir." "Now, I'll tell you what, my friend," said Scrooge. "I am not going to stand this sort of thing any longer, and therefore," he continued, leaping from his stool and giving Bob such a dig in the waistcoat that he staggered back into the tank again, "and therefore I am about to raise your salary." Bob trembled and got a little nearer to the ruler. He had a momentary idea of knocking Scrooge down with it, holding him and calling to the people in the court for help and a straight waistcoat. "A Merry Christmas, Bob," said Scrooge, with an earnestness that could not be mistaken, as he clapped him on the back. "A Merry Christmas, Bob, my good fellow, than I have given you for many a year. I raise your salary, and I endeavor to assist you, your struggling family, and I will discuss your affairs this very afternoon over a Christmas bowl of smoking bishop, Bob. Make up the fires and buy another round of cold scuttle before you do another. I, Bob Cratchit." Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all, and infinitely more. And to Tiny Tim, who did not die, he was a second father. He became as good a friend, as good a master, as good as a man, as good the old city knew, or any other good old city, town, or borough in the good old world would know. Some people laughed to see the alterations in him, but he let them laugh, and little heeded them, for he was wise enough to know that nothing ever happened on this globe for good, at which some people did not have their fill of laughter in the outset. And knowing that these, as such, would be blind anyway, he thought it quite as well that they should wrinkle up their eyes and grins and have the malady in less attractive forms. His own heart laughed, and that was quite enough for him. He had no further intercourse with spirits, but lived upon the total abstinence principle ever afterwards. And it was always said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas well, if any man alive possessed the knowledge. May that be truly said of us, and all of us. And so, as Tiny Tim observed, God bless us, every one. Okay. So, if you'd like to see your copy of, if you'd like to obtain your copy of the original work by Charles Dickens, you can download it from the Gutenberg Library and maybe make a donation. They're a wonderful organization. Anything outside of the copyright restrictions in the United States, we're free to use. And in this case, I'm just talking to you and reading aloud. I wanted to do the last part of that justice, and so I took a couple of hours today kind of working on the accents and the just thinking about each one of them and their thoughts and how to separate the narrator's voice. That's always a challenge in the middle of dialogue, to separate the narrator's voice. And I hope I did a pretty good job with that. It's been a lot of fun. I have enjoyed every night coming here and doing this, and I think it's been really fun testing myself on the air to see if I could do it, and put myself through the paces, even with the planes flying over. My goodness gracious. But it is the holidays. Everybody has a place to go. In any event, I think what we can get most from the very quick happy ending is that Scrooge did not need to be there when Cratchit's family got that goose. He didn't need to be there. He didn't even say who it was from. And then he wants to give money anonymously. He's giving money to a charity, but in effect it's anonymous because the charity probably back then didn't celebrate donors, and maybe he didn't want to be noted. I don't know. But he gives generously. And but first he wanders. I like the fact that he took time to live inside himself. And that's what I think that's what I've been doing since we went to the Northwest. I sometimes get brain fog, and it's just the way it is. And so I can usually power through it, but the last month or so I have felt sort of detached a little bit. Like I just couldn't figure out what was happening. And for me, I just happened to be letting go of a lot of stuff. I'm 60 years old, and for the first time in my life, like I've said before, happy never sucks. So I'm just chill now, trying to let everybody I just mind my own business and spread love out there as much as I can. Hey, send me an email. Let me know what you'd like me to read next if you've listened up to this point. I do appreciate you coming here and spending time with me, and taking time in your life to hear my voice for a little while. Thank you so much for being a listener. I love you guys. I really sincerely do. And Happy New Year.